The rain doesn't fall gently.
It attacks.
It needles into the earth like it has something to prove, slashing through leaves, skin, and silence. The wind screams through the forest in long, broken howls, the kind that sound too close to grief to be natural. Trees bend and shudder, branches clawing at one another like they're trying to escape the storm too. Before we continue, please like this video, subscribe to Moonbound Werewolf Romance Stories, and share. And somewhere in the middle of it all, she runs. Astra's breath burns her lungs raw. Each gasp feels too loud, too slow, like the night itself is listening for it. Her bare feet slam against soaked ground, mud sucking at her heels, trying to drag her down with greedy hands. Thorns rake her calves, sharp and unforgiving, tearing skin without apology. She doesn't cry out. She learned long ago that pain makes noise, and noise gets you killed. Blood trickles warm down her ankle anyway. She stumbles, catches herself on a low branch, and keeps moving. There's no time to stop. No time to think. Only forward. Only survive. Behind her, something moves. Not footsteps. Not human. A low, echoing growl rolls through the trees, vibrating through the soil, and straight into her bones. It's answered by another. And another. Too many. Surrounding her. Closing in. Shadow hounds. She knows them by sound alone. Every pack trains their hunters differently, but these belong to the Black Veil pack. She can hear the way they pace their breath, smell the metallic bite of their magic in the air. They don't hunt to capture. They hunt to erase. Astra pushes harder, legs screaming, heart hammering so violently she's sure it will tear itself free. Her chest feels too tight, like something inside her is pressing outward, clawing for release. Fear does that to her. Always has. Silver light flickers beneath her skin. It starts in her veins, thin, glowing threads that spark when panic spikes. She clenches her fists, nails biting into her palms as she forces it down. Not now. Please. Not now. She cannot afford to lose control. The last time she did, her world ended. The forest thickens ahead, fog rolling low between the trunks like breath from some massive, sleeping beast. Visibility drops to nothing. Trees blur into shadows. Direction dissolves. Left or right means nothing when you can't see more than a few feet ahead. The fog feels like doubt. Heavy. Smothering. Just like the elders' voices had been. You're unstable. You're dangerous. You're not like us. Her foot slips on a hidden rock, and she goes down hard, the impact knocking the air from her chest in a sharp, helpless wheeze. Mud coats her hands. Her palms shake as she pushes herself back up. The growls are closer now. She can feel them, the pressure of their presence. Magic pressing against her skin, testing, tasting. One wrong surge of power, and they'll find her instantly. Hunger claws at her stomach, sharp and nauseating. She hasn't eaten properly in days. Running takes more than she has left, and the night knows it. The storm knows it. The world knows she's breaking. Her vision swims, silver sparks flashing again beneath her skin, brighter this time. Pain lances through her spine, sudden and vicious. She bites down on her lip hard enough to taste blood, forcing the power back like shoving fire into a locked chest. I won't become what they said I was. She runs again. Branches whip her face. Rain blinds her. The fog thins just enough for her to see it, and she nearly sobs. Iron gates. They rise out of the earth like something forged from myth rather than metal. Massive. Ancient. Black iron etched with glowing runes that pulse faintly against the storm-dark sky. The symbols hum, low and deep, like a heartbeat older than the forest itself. The Alpha King's fortress. She hadn't planned this. Hadn't even known she was running in this direction. Her feet must have remembered something her mind didn't. Or maybe fate is cruel enough to have a sense of humor. The place every pack whispers about. The place no one approaches uninvited. The place ruled by a king who doesn't show mercy. Her legs give out just steps from the gate. She hits the ground on her knees, hands sinking into wet gravel. Her body shakes violently now, cold and exhaustion finally catching up. The silver light under her skin flares once more, leaking through her fingers like liquid moonlight before fading again. The shadow hounds burst from the fog. She hears them before she sees them. Massive shapes, eyes burning an eerie green, sigils glowing on their flanks as they fan out in a practiced arc. They stop just short of the gates, snarling, pacing, claws tearing grooves into the earth. They won't cross the boundary. That much she knows. Astra drags herself forward, every inch an act of sheer will. Her blood streaks the stone beneath her as she presses her forehead to the cold iron. She's not praying. She doesn't believe anyone is listening. But she whispers anyway, "Please." The runes flare brighter. For a terrifying second, nothing happens. The hounds circle, frustrated, their growls rising into a chorus that vibrates through the gate and into her bones. One lunges, slamming against the invisible barrier with a crack of magic that makes Astra flinch. Then, the gates move. Metal groans. Ancient hinges scream as the iron doors begin to part, slow and deliberate, as if the fortress itself is deciding whether she's worth the trouble. Warm light spills out, golden against the cold blue of the storm. Torchlight. Safety. Or something that only looks like it. Strong hands grab her arms and haul her inside just as the gates slam shut behind her with a thunderous finality. The sound echoes like a verdict. She collapses onto stone, too weak to stay upright, rainwater pooling around her. Boots move around her. Voices murmur, sharp and suspicious. And then, a voice cuts through it all.
"Lo, come."
Commanding. Enough. The word lands heavy, absolute. The other sounds fade instantly, like the world itself has been told to be quiet. Astra lifts her head just enough to see torchlight reflecting off stone walls that stretch impossibly high. She smells iron, smoke, and something else beneath it. Power.
Old.
Controlled. Dangerous. Her vision blurs again. Before darkness claims her, she hears the voice once more. Closer now. Bring her in. And just like that, the night lets her go. If you crave stories where fate bites and love burns, subscribe to Moonbound Werewolf Romance Stories. Because this is only the beginning. Darkness loosens its grip slowly. Not all at once. Not kindly. Astra wakes the way she always does, caught between pain and awareness, between the urge to run and the inability to move. Her body feels heavy, wrong, like it's been poured full of stone. The cold is gone, replaced by a dry warmth that sinks into her bones without asking permission. She doesn't open her eyes yet. She listens. Fire crackles somewhere nearby. Not the wild roar of a blaze, but the controlled, steady burn of torches meant to last through the night. Stone breathes around her, old and deep, holding centuries of secrets in its walls. There are footsteps too. Measured.
Disciplined.
Wolves who know exactly where they belong. Her pulse stutters. She forces herself to breathe slowly, carefully, like she's been taught. Panic will wake the silver. Panic will make her dangerous. And dangerous is how people decide you don't deserve mercy. When she finally opens her eyes, light greets her gently. She's lying on a narrow bed, thick wool blankets pulled up to her chest. Her clothes are gone, replaced with a simple linen shift. For one sharp moment, fear spikes. Who touched her? Who saw? But the feeling passes when she senses no lingering hands, no violation. Only clean bandages wrapped around her ankle, careful and tight. Someone took their time. The room is vast. Torchlight dances across stone walls carved with wolves in motion, running, fighting, bowing. A high ceiling disappears into shadow. At the far end of the chamber, raised on a low dais, sits a chair carved entirely from dark wolfwood. And in it,
a man.
He doesn't rise when she stirs, doesn't rush toward her. He sits still, one hand resting on the arm of the chair, the other loosely wrapped around the head of a black cane. His legs are wrapped in thick bandages from thigh to ankle, layered and deliberate, like armor made of cloth.
Kael.
She knows the name before anyone says it. The Alpha King. The storm outside suddenly feels very far away. He watches her the way hunters watch fire, aware of its beauty, its danger, and the cost of standing too close. His face is calm, almost bored, but his eyes ruin the illusion. They're too sharp, too awake, pale gold, like moonlight caught in metal. They burn with thought, with secrets. Astra pushes herself up on her elbows, wincing as pain ripples through her ankle. The movement draws attention from the edges of the room. She senses guards now, 3, maybe 4, standing just beyond the light, hands near their weapons, bodies angled toward her like she's already guilty of something. She swallows. No one has spoken yet, and the silence stretches thin and dangerous. Kael breaks it. "You're awake sooner than I expected." His voice is low, even. Not cruel, not gentle either. Controlled. The kind of voice that doesn't need to be raised because it's used to being obeyed. Astra wets her lips. Her throat feels dry, raw from smoke and fear. "Where?" The word barely makes it out. "My fortress," he says. "You collapsed at my gates." She nods once, stiffly. Memory crashes back in fragments. Rain, iron, the hounds. Her fingers curl into the blankets, as if they might turn into earth beneath her hands. "I didn't mean to," she starts. "I know," Kael says. The interruption is soft. Precise. Her gaze snaps back to him. His eyes don't waver. "I know exactly what you meant to do," he continues. "And what you didn't." Something cold settles in her stomach. He knows. Before she can stop herself, the question slips out. "What's my name?" A test. A foolish one. Kael tilts his head, just slightly. The movement feels deliberate, studied, like he's cataloging her reactions. Then he answers without hesitation. "Astra." The sound of it hits her harder than the storm ever did. Her breath catches. The room tilts. No one here should know her name. She hasn't spoken it in years. She's buried it under mud and blood and silence, the way you bury something that's only ever brought pain. "How?" Her voice shakes despite her effort to steady it. One of the guards takes a step forward. "My king." She could be lying.
A spy.
A curse-bearer. "We should." Kael raises one finger. "That's all." The guard freezes mid-step like a statue carved in flesh. The room seems to hold its breath with him. "No," Kael says quietly. "You shouldn't." The finger lowers. The world exhales. His attention returns to Astra, unbroken. "You were hunted," he says. "Not by my wolves." She nods again, slower this time. "Black veil," she whispers. A flicker crosses his face. Not surprise. Annoyance. Calculation. "Of course they were," he murmurs, more to himself than to her. Then louder. "They stopped at my gates." "They couldn't cross," Astra says. "I knew that much." "Smart," Kael replies. Desperate. But smart. She doesn't know whether that's praise or a verdict. The guards shift again, unease rippling through them. They can feel it too, the wrongness clinging to her skin, the echo of silver light that hasn't fully faded. One bares his teeth just a little. "She's dangerous," another mutters. "You felt it." "We all did." Astra flinches. There it is. The familiar turn. The moment where fear hardens into judgment. "Throw her out," the first guard says. Before the black veil comes knocking. "We don't need their problems bleeding into our halls." Astra squeezes her eyes shut. She's too tired to beg. Too tired to explain that she never wanted any of this. That she's been running from the fire her whole life. Words have never saved her before. She waits for Kael to agree. Instead, he laughs. It's quiet. Almost amused. "Do you know what I hate most about fear?" he asks, not looking at the guards. They don't answer. It makes fools believe the loudest solution is the right one. He looks at Astra again. Really looks at her. Takes in the way her shoulders hunch defensively, the way her hands tremble despite her effort to still them, the way her power coils beneath her skin like a wounded animal waiting to strike or flee. "She crossed half a forest barefoot," Kael continues. "Outran trained hounds while bleeding and starving. Collapsed at my gates instead of turning on the nearest village. And you think she's the immediate threat? Silence. Astra opens her eyes. For the first time since she ran, since the storm, since exile, someone is speaking for her. Not kindly, not gently, but clearly. She stays, Kael says. The words fall like stone. The guards stare at him. My king. She stays, he repeats, firmer now. And if any of you have an objection, you're welcome to voice it. Once. No one speaks. Kael's gaze never leaves Astra. Sanctuary, he says. Not charity. Not forgiveness. Sanctuary. Her heart beats painfully hard. Why? She asks before she can stop herself. The question hangs between them, naked and dangerous. Kael considers her. His fingers tighten imperceptibly around the cane. Because, he says at last, anyone who runs it hard from their own power deserves to be watched. The words should terrify her. Instead, something twists low in her chest. Not hope. Not relief. Interest. Fear laced with something warmer. Attraction. She realizes distantly and hates herself for it. She shouldn't feel anything but dread. This is the Alpha King. The strategist who crushed 3 rebellions without ever lifting a blade. The ruler who survived a coup that left him broken, if the rumors are true. If. Her gaze drifts to his legs again, wrapped and still. To the way his posture compensates, spine straight, shoulders squared, as if daring the world to underestimate him. He catches her looking. The corner of his mouth curves just slightly. Don't mistake this for kindness, Kael says. You'll earn your place here. Every day. I can work, Astra says quickly.
Clean. Cook.
Whatever you need. I know, he replies. Again with that. Knowing things before she says them. You'll serve, Kael continues. Under supervision. You'll sleep where you're told, eat when you're told, and go nowhere without permission. The words are firm, controlled. Reasonable. Yet the way he says serve sends a strange heat through her, unwanted and sharp. You'll be watched, he adds. Closely. She nods. I'm used to that. Something flickers behind his eyes at that. Anger, maybe. Or recognition. Good, Kael says. Then we understand each other. He shifts slightly in his chair, and for just a heartbeat, she senses it. A coiled tension beneath the stillness, like a predator forced to remain seated. His fingers press into the armrest, knuckles whitening, then relax. Pain, she realizes. Real or not, it costs him something to move. Take her to the servants' wing. Kael orders the guards. See that her wounds are tended properly. If she collapses again, I'll have your heads. The threat is calm. Absolute. The guards bow and move toward her. As they help her to her feet, Astra's legs wobble, but she forces herself upright. She won't be carried. She won't be seen as weak. Before they lead her away, she looks back at Kael one last time. Their eyes meet. For a breath, the world narrows to that connection. Her fear reflected in his sharp curiosity, her fire mirrored in something darker, deeper. Kael inclines his head, just a fraction. Not a bow, an acknowledgement. And as Astra is guided out of the chamber, heart racing, mind spinning, one thought echoes louder than the guard's footsteps, louder than the storm still raging beyond the walls. She didn't just cross into the Alpha King's fortress. She crossed into his attention. And nothing that touches that ever leaves unchanged. The servant's wing smells of soap, stone dust, and old resentment. Astra feels at the moment she's led inside. The corridor narrows as they move away from the grand halls, ceilings lowering, torches spaced farther apart. The walls here don't carry legends. They carry whispers, old grudges soaked into mortar. The guards release her at the threshold without ceremony, already done with her existence, now that orders have been followed. She stands there for a moment, swaying, unsure where to put her weight. Her ankle throbs in slow, punishing pulses. Each heartbeat reminds her she's still alive, still here, still not safe. A matron with sharp eyes and tighter lips takes her in without warmth. She says nothing at first, only gestures toward a low wooden bench and drops a folded stack of rough servant clothes into Astra's arms. The message is clear: change, clean yourself, don't ask questions. Astra obeys.
She always has.
Later, she's not sure how much later, time blurring into a dull ache, she's given a bucket, a rag, and a section of hallway to scrub. The stone is worn smooth by centuries of boots. It gleams faintly under torchlight, but dirt clings stubbornly in the grooves. The work is hard on her ankle. She bites down on every hiss of pain, every tremor in her hands. Around her, the fortress lives. Doors open and close. Servants pass, some curious, some openly hostile. She hears mutters carried on careless tongues. That's her. Came out of the storm. Did you feel it? King's lost his mind. No one asks her name.
They don't want it.
As she works, memory creeps in the way it always does when her body is exhausted enough that her mind stops fighting. The first shift comes back to her without warning.
She'd been 16. Too old, some said.
Too late to manifest properly. The elders had watched her with narrowed eyes even before that night, waiting for proof that their unease was justified. The moon had been full.
Fat.
Bright enough to bleach the world pale. She remembers the excitement in her chest. The fear, too, but everyone was afraid their first time. That was normal. She'd stood in the circle with the others, bare feet pressed into the sacred dirt, heart hammering with anticipation. She remembers the moment it started. The pull in her spine, the heat flooding her veins. But where moonlight should have wrapped her, soothed her, fire answered instead. Not red, not gold, silver. It tore through her like a scream with teeth. She dropped to her knees, choking, as light burst from beneath her skin, searing the air. The runes carved into the circle had flared, then cracked. Elders shouted. Someone tried to grab her. She remembers the smell of burning fur. The way everyone backed away from her, eyes wide with horror, as if she'd grown claws made of nightmares. Stop it, she'd begged.
I don't know how.
But the flame hadn't listened. Afterward, there were meetings held behind closed doors. Whispers that followed her like a sickness. Mothers pulled their children aside when Astra passed. Warriors wouldn't train near her.
Cursed.
That was the word they used. A child of ruin. When the elders tried to bind her power, it fought back. The ritual had failed violently, silver fire shattering the stones, leaving one elder with scars he never forgave her for. Exile came quietly.
No ceremony.
No defense. Just a sentence delivered without looking her in the eye. You cannot stay. The memory fades as a voice snaps her back to the present. Careful. Astra jerks, nearly losing her grip on the bucket. A servant stands nearby, older, with tired eyes. Not kind. Not cruel either. Just worn. Don't let the water pool there, the man says. It'll freeze by morning. She nods quickly. Thank you. He hesitates, then adds, lower. And keep your head down. This place eats people who stand out. She almost laughs at that. She scrubs until her arms shake. When she's dismissed, it's with nothing more than a curt nod and directions to a narrow room with a pallet on the floor. She eats alone, a bowl of thin stew, bread hard at the edges. It tastes like survival. Sleep comes in fragments. She dreams of fire she can't put out, of iron gates closing behind her, of gold eyes watching from the dark. Days pass, or maybe weeks. Time inside the fortress stretches and coils, marked not by sun or moon but by bells and orders. Astra learns the rhythms quickly, where to walk without being seen, which servants will shove her aside, which will pretend she doesn't exist. And she learns something else. The Alpha King is watched even more closely than she is. She sees it in the way servants stiffen when his chair is rolled past, in the way some speak too loudly around him, dripping false courtesy like honey gone sour, in the way others forget him entirely, speaking over him as if his presence is an inconvenience. Once, she witnesses a young noble laugh when Kael's cane slips from his grasp. The sound echoes too long. Kael retrieves the cane himself, face unreadable. His guards say nothing. Neither does he. But Astra feels it. The wrongness. The rot. She cleans the great hall the next morning, her rag moving in slow circles across the stone. Kael is there, seated near the hearth, listening as two council members argue loudly about border patrols.
They don't look at him when they speak.
They don't lower their voices. One of them says, "With all due respect, my king, perhaps if you were still able to lead from the field." Silence cuts in sharp and sudden. Not from Kael. From the room itself. The councilman pales, realizing too late what he said. Kael doesn't raise his voice. Doesn't glare. He simply looks at the man. "Finish that sentence," Kael says. The man swallows. He doesn't. Astra watches Kael's hands instead. The way his fingers curl slowly around the cane. The way his knuckles go white. The way he doesn't move his legs. Not even a shift, not even a twitch. Not because he can't. Because he won't. Understanding hits her so hard it nearly knocks the breath from her lungs. He's holding himself back. The realization lingers long after the hall empties. Later that evening, Astra is assigned to help with bandages. She expects another servant to handle it. Instead, she's ushered into a quieter chamber near Kael's private quarters, heart pounding hard enough to make her dizzy. Kael sits by a low fire, wolfwood chair angled slightly toward the warmth. He doesn't look at her when she enters. "Close the door," he says. She does. The sound echoes louder than it should.
Come closer.
Each step feels like walking toward a cliff edge. She stops an arm's length away. "Sit," Kael instructs, gesturing to a stool near his legs. Her hands shake as she kneels instead, careful, respectful. Close enough now to see the faint lines of strain around his eyes. The exhaustion he hides better than anyone else. She unwraps the bandages slowly. His skin beneath is unmarred. Strong. Too strong for the story everyone tells. She keeps her eyes down. "This hurts," he says suddenly. She freezes. "I can stop." "No," his voice is even. "I want you to know." She continues, more gently now. When she presses fresh cloth into place, his breath catches. Not in pain. In restraint. It's subtle. Anyone else might miss it. But Astra feels power the way some people feel storms. She knows the difference between weakness and control. "You don't have to pretend with me," she says before she can stop herself. The words hang between them, dangerous and bare. Kael's gaze drops to her face, sharp and assessing. "Careful," he murmurs. "That's a dangerous assumption." Her heart races, but she doesn't look away. "I know what it looks like when someone is afraid of themselves." Something shifts. Not anger. Recognition. For a long moment, neither of them speaks. Firelight dances between them, shadows stretching and pulling at the walls. "You're observant," Kael says finally. "Survival teaches that," Astra replies. He studies her again, longer this time. "You survived something worse than exile." She swallows. "Yes." He doesn't ask what. That restraint does more to unravel her than any question could. From then on, the small moments begin. They don't speak often. They don't need to. Sometimes he looks up as she passes, their eyes meeting for half a breath too long. Sometimes she brings him food when no one else volunteers, setting the tray down without comment. Sometimes she notices how his jaw tightens when someone lies to him, how his gaze sharpens when loyalty is tested. Kael watches everything. Especially her. One night, as she tends the fire, her fingers brush his wrist accidentally. The contact is brief. Electric. She pulls back instantly, pulse racing. He doesn't. His gaze flicks to where she touched him, then back to her face. Something unreadable flickers there.
Curiosity.
And something deeper. Astra retreats before either of them can say anything. Back in her narrow room, she presses her hands together, forcing the silver glow beneath her skin to calm. She doesn't know when Kael began to matter. She only knows that he does. And that scares her more than the hounds ever did. Because fire she can fight. But connection burns slower. And it leaves scars that never fade. The forgotten wing does not announce itself. It hides. Astra discovers it the way she discovers most dangerous things, by accident, when her guard is down and her thoughts are elsewhere. She's been sent to clean the upper corridors, far from the hearth warmth and watchful eyes of the lower halls. Few servants come here. Fewer still linger. The air is colder. Not damp like the servants' wing, not stale like unused rooms, but clean, sharp, almost reverent. Dust lies thick on the floor, undisturbed for years, maybe decades. Each step leaves a mark, and the sound of her breathing feels too loud, as though the walls themselves are listening. Torches are sparse. Their flames burn low, blue-edged, reacting to something beneath the stone. The walls here are different too. The carvings are older, cruder. Wolves with elongated forms, eyes carved deep and hollow. Moons in phases she doesn't recognize. Symbols that tug at something under her skin, something that stirs and shifts in uneasy response. Her silver fire stirs. Not violently, not fearfully, curious. She pauses, hand tightening around the handle of her bucket. The sensation crawls along her spine, warm and insistent, like a whisper trying to become a voice. She swallows and forces herself forward. Work is safer than wonder. The corridor slopes downward, barely perceptible, the stone beneath her feet smoothing into a gentle spiral. The air grows warmer the deeper she goes, humming faintly, like breath moving through a chest. Then she sees it. The doorway is half collapsed, stone fractured, as if something once pushed outward from within. Ancient runes frame the arch, dulled by time but not erased. They glow faintly as she approaches, responding to her presence with a low, resonant pulse. Her heart stutters. She should turn back. Every instinct screams at her to leave this place untouched, sealed, forgotten. Instead, she steps through. The chamber beyond opens wide and round, a perfect circle carved directly into the bedrock beneath the castle. The ceiling rises into darkness, but moonlight, real moonlight, filters down through a narrow opening far above, spilling silver onto the floor like a blessing long overdue. At the center of the chamber stands the altar. It is carved from pale stone veined with silver, smooth and cool, etched with the same symbols that line the gates of the fortress, but older.
Deeper.
The markings spiral inward, converging on a shallow depression at the top, as if something was meant to rest there. Or someone. Astra's breath comes shallow. Her body reacts before her mind does. Her skin prickles. The silver beneath her veins brightens, responding to the space like it has found a long-lost echo. She sets her bucket down with trembling hands. The chamber feels alive. Not hostile. Not welcoming. Waiting. She approaches the altar slowly, each step heavy with a weight she can't name. The closer she gets, the louder the hum becomes, not audible sound, but vibration, thrumming through bone and blood. Her fingers hover over the stone. She hesitates. Then she touches it. The world shatters. Light explodes behind her eyes, blinding and absolute. The chamber vanishes, replaced by motion and fire and sound that is too vast to be contained by a single body. She is no longer Astra. She is everything. Ancient wolves run beneath a burning sky, their forms massive and luminous, for catching moonlight like liquid silver. Their howls shake mountains. Crowns of flame rest upon their brows, not consuming, but crowning, marking. She sees battles fought not for land, but for balance. Blood spilled into earth that drinks it hungrily, blooming into forests and stone and memory. She sees a woman. She stands alone at the center of a circle much like the one Astra touched, her hair a cascade of white fire, her eyes blazing silver. The flame does not hurt her. It answers her, bows to her, shapes itself around her form like armor made of light. A mark burns at the woman's chest, a sigil Astra recognizes, without knowing how. The marked flame. Power surges through Astra's veins, sharp and overwhelming. She gasps, collapsing to her knees as the visions keep coming. Voices rise, layered and echoing, ancient and weary. When the packs fracture, when the crown lies broken, when the fire returns to flesh, She sees a throne abandoned, a kingdom splintered by betrayal, wolves turning on wolves, fear poisoning loyalty until nothing remains but ruin. Then she sees a pair of gold eyes. Watching. Waiting. The vision snaps away violently. Astra screams as the light collapses inward, slamming back into her body like a storm forced into a bottle. She falls forward, palms striking the stone floor, breath ripping from her lungs. The chamber goes silent. Her heart pounds so hard it hurts. Silver light leaks from her hands, fading slowly as she pulls herself back under control. Sweat slicks her skin. Tears blur her vision, unbidden and hot. "No," she whispers hoarsely.
No, no, no.
She pushes herself back from the altar, shaking. Her mind races, trying to make sense of what she saw, what she felt. Destiny. Prophecy.
Myth.
These things belong in stories. In warnings meant to scare children into obedience. They don't belong to maids scrubbing floors and avoiding eye contact. She laughs weakly, the sound breaking on the edges. "You've got the wrong girl." The chamber does not answer, but the runes glow brighter, pulsing softly, patiently. Astra stumbles back to her feet and flees. For days after, the castle feels different. The walls hum when she passes. The torches flare slightly brighter. Wolves glance her way without knowing why, brows furrowing, instincts prickling. She keeps her head down. She avoids the forgotten wing entirely. But the knowledge follows her. She begins to notice old texts left untouched in corners of the library, scrolls written in archaic script, pages yellowed and brittle. She doesn't mean to read them. She just does. The words pull her in. The one with the marked flame will rise when the moon splits and the crown bleeds. A mate-bound alpha shall stand beside her. Not above, not below. Together, they will bind what was broken or burn it to ash. Her hands shake as she reads.
Mate-bound. Alpha.
Her stomach twists. Her thoughts turn, traitorous and unbidden, to Kael. She hates herself for it. Kael, who pretends to be less than he is. Kael, who watches and waits, who restrains power with an iron will she recognizes too well. Kael, whose presence steadies something wild inside her even as it ignites something dangerous. It's coincidence, she tells herself. Nothing more. Destiny doesn't choose people like her. Destiny chooses monsters.
Kings.
Legends. Not exiles. Not cursed girls who burn everything they touch. She tries to distance herself, but fate is not subtle. The night Kael finds her in the library, she nearly jumps out of her skin. She hadn't heard him approach. He never announces himself. He simply appears, wolfwood chair rolling softly over stone, eyes sharp even in the dim light. "You're avoiding me," he says. She closes the book too quickly, fingers crumpling the page. "I've been busy." "So have I," Kael replies. "Yet here we are." His gaze flicks to the book in her hands. Interesting reading. She tucks it against her chest instinctively. "Just history." "History has teeth," he says. "It bites those who pretend not to hear it." Her heart races. "Why are you here?" He considers her for a moment. "Because something has changed in my walls." The words chill her. "Explain," she says, forcing steadiness into her voice. Kael leans back slightly. The runes are waking. Old wards I sealed years ago are stirring. And wolves who haven't dreamed in decades are waking in the night with fire in their veins. His eyes lock onto hers. That doesn't happen without cause. She swallows. Maybe the castle is old. A muscle in his jaw tightens. "It's older than you think." Silence stretches thick and charged. Finally, Kael speaks again, quieter. "You went somewhere you weren't meant to." "It isn't a question."
Her shoulder say.
"There's no point lying now." "I didn't mean to." He studies her, then nods once. "Neither did I." The first time. The admission lands harder than any accusation. "You've seen it," she breathes. "Haven't you?" Kael doesn't answer right away. When he does, his voice is stripped of pretense. "I've felt it my entire life." Her chest tightens. They sit there, two dangerous truths circling each other, neither willing to strike first. I'm not who you think I am, Astra says quietly. Kael's lips curve faintly. Neither am I. He turns the chair, gesturing toward the corridor. Show me. Her pulse roars in her ears. Every instinct screams to run, to hide, to protect the fragile illusion of normalcy she's built here. But the fire inside her answers something deeper. She leads him back to the forgotten wing. The runes flare as they approach, brighter than before. Kael's hands tighten on the arms of his chair, breath hitching almost imperceptibly. This place has been sealed for years, he murmurs. No one has entered since. Since the last marked one, Astra finishes. His gaze snaps to her. Inside the chamber, the altar glows softly, moonlight spilling down like a held breath. The moment Kael crosses the threshold, the air shifts. Power rolls through the space, heavy and electric. Astra steps back, heart pounding. I touched it, she says. And it showed me things. Things I didn't ask to see. Kael wheels forward, stopping just before the altar. His expression is unreadable. This place recognizes you, he says. I don't want it to, she replies. I don't want any of this. Destiny presses in around them, ancient and patient. Kael grips the arms of his chair and, slowly, painfully, rises. The effort is immense. Sweat beads at his temple. His jaw clenches as his legs tremble beneath him, not with weakness, but with restraint pushed too far. Astra steps forward instinctively. Kael. Don't, he breathes. I need to know. He lowers himself to one knee before the altar. The moment his skin touches the stone, the runes ignite. Light floods the chamber, silver and gold entwining, the altar answering both of them at once. The hum becomes a roar, power surging like a living thing. Astra gasps as the mark on the altar flares, identical to the one from her vision. Kael's breath shudders. So it's true, he whispers. The chamber answers with silence heavy enough to crush. Astra's hands tremble at her sides. Destiny has found them, and neither of them is ready for what it demands. The world does not wait for understanding. It never has. The shift begins quietly, the way storms always do, subtle changes in pressure, unease creeping through stone, and bone long before thunder ever speaks. Astra feels it first while scrubbing the lower stairwell at dawn. The air tastes wrong. Metallic.
Tight.
Her silver fire stirs uneasily beneath her skin, not rising, not flaring, listening. She pauses, breath shallow. From the outer courtyard comes the sound of horns. Not the fortress signal, not a call of warning, a challenge. The sound rolls through the castle like a bruise blooming under skin. Servants freeze mid-step. Wolves lift their heads in unison, instinct snapping awake. Somewhere above, boots thunder across stone as guards take positions they haven't needed in years. Astra's heart begins to race. She doesn't need anyone to tell her what this means. Rival alphas don't announce themselves unless they intend to be seen. And when they come in daylight, it's never for peace. The great hall fills quickly. Astra is ordered to the perimeter with the other servants, positioned where she can see everything and say nothing. The irony bites deep. She stands with her hands folded, posture submissive, while the air crackles with tension sharp enough to cut. The doors open. 3 figures stride in, cloaked in dark furs marked with sigils she recognizes instantly. Black veil. Iron crest.
Ash vine.
Enemies bound by one thing only, hunger for power. Their alphas move like they own the space, boots heavy against stone, gazes sweeping with thinly veiled contempt.
They do not bow deeply.
They do not hide their smiles. Kael is already there.
Seated. Still.
Watching. His presence anchors the room even before he speaks. Gold eyes track every movement, every twitch of muscle, every flicker of intent. Astra watches him from the edge of the hall, chest tight with a dread she can't name. One of the alphas laughs softly. So the rumors are true, he says. The great Alpha King receives us from a chair now. Murmurs ripple through the council. Kael does not react. Speak your business, he says calmly. The Iron Crest Alpha steps forward. We're here to discuss stability. Stability, Kael repeats. Yes, the man continues smoothly. Borders are uncertain. Old protections are weakening. And with all due respect, my king, your condition has raised questions. Astra feels it then. The shift. Council members glance at one another. Some avoid Kael's gaze. Others lean forward, sensing blood in the water. Astra's nails dig into her palms. This is it. The moment they've been waiting for. You've been isolated, another councilman says carefully.
Hidden.
Wolves whisper that you no longer patrol, that you no longer fight. Kael's jaw tightens, barely perceptible. And wolves are known for their wisdom, he replies coolly. The Black Veil Alpha smiles wider. They're known for strength. Something your court seems to be lacking. Silence slams down hard. Astra feels heat coil in her chest, sharp and angry. Her silver fire presses outward, responding to injustice, to threat. She forces it down, breath shaking. Don't react. Don't give them reason. Enough, Kael says, voice cutting through the noise. You did not cross my borders to comment on my body. No, the Ashbine Alpha says lightly. We came because something old has awakened in your lands. The words slice straight to Astra's core. She goes cold. Eyes turn, not all at once, not obviously, but they shift.
Subtly.
Toward her. The Iron Crest Alpha follows their gaze and laughs.
Ah.
There she is. Astra's heart stutters. The Maid, he continues. The one who reeks of witch fire. The word hits like a slap. Murmurs erupt. Servants whisper. Council members lean closer, curiosity sharpening into suspicion. Kael's gaze snaps to the Alpha, lethal. You will choose your next words carefully.
Oh.
Black Veil counters. Or what? You'll rise from that chair and stop us. The insult lands with surgical precision. Astra feels it. Kael's restraint snapping tight as wire pulled too far. Power rolls through the hall, invisible but undeniable. The torches flare, flames bending toward him. For one terrifying moment, she thinks he'll stand. Instead, Kael exhales slowly. Measured. Controlled. What proof do you bring? He asks. The Ashbine Alpha gestures sharply. She crossed 3 territories trailing silver flame. She shattered a binding circle meant to contain cursed blood. Our hunters tracked her straight to your gates. All eyes turn to Astra. Her throat closes. She is corruption. Iron Crest continues. A living weapon. And by harboring her, you invite war. The council erupts. She must be expelled. This risks everything. We cannot protect her. The noise crashes over Astra like a wave. She looks to Kael. Just once. Their eyes meet. And in that instant, she sees the calculation. The weighing. The impossible choice tightening around his throat. Protect her, and confirm every whisper of weakness. Cast her out, and keep his people safe. Kael rises slightly in his chair, commanding attention. The girl is under my protection, he says. Hope flares in Astra's chest, bright, painful. Then he adds, temporarily. The word guts her. Until her nature is determined. The hall stills. Astra's breath comes shallow. Her ears ring. Temporarily.
Not ally.
Not sanctuary.
A test.
The Black Veil Alpha smiles in triumph. Then you admit she's dangerous. Kael does not look at Astra now. For the safety of the realm, he says coldly, she will be confined until further notice. The words echo.
Confined. Caged.
The fire inside Astra recoils, wounded and furious. She sways, barely catching herself. Around her, guards shift, hands moving subtly closer to weapons. She understands in that moment. He's letting them believe it, letting her fall so they won't strike. But understanding doesn't dull the pain. It sharpens it. Kael's voice hardens. Remove her from the hall. Astra doesn't wait to be touched.
She turns and walks.
Each step feels like tearing herself in half. She keeps her head high, teeth clenched so hard her jaw aches. She does not look back. Behind her, the council resumes arguing. Alphas press their advantage. Kael's authority is questioned openly now, his weakness paraded like proof of decay. Astra doesn't hear the end of it. She flees to the servant's wing, heart pounding, thoughts unraveling. A test. That's all she ever was. A measure of his control, his restraint, his willingness to sacrifice one life for many. She packs quickly. There's no time for sentiment. No time for hope. She stuffs the few things she owns into a small cloth bundle. Extra bandage, half loaf of bread, the memory of warmth she should never have trusted. Her hands shake. The silver fire burns low and furious beneath her skin, responding to betrayal the way it always has, with heat and pain and the promise of destruction. She presses her palm to her chest, breathing through it. "You knew better," she whispers to herself. "You always know better." She moves through the fortress like a ghost, avoiding eyes, slipping through passages she's memorized through weeks of quiet observation. The castle seems to watch her go, walls humming faintly, torches dimming as if in mourning. Dawn bleeds across the sky as she reaches the gates. The storm is gone, leaving the world washed raw and pale. Mist curls low over the ground, the forest beyond dark and waiting. She pauses at the threshold. For one foolish moment, she hopes. Hopes Kael will be there. Hopes he'll stop her. Hopes he'll say it was all a lie. The gates remain silent. Astra steps outside. The iron doors close behind her with a final, echoing boom. She does not look back. As she walks into the mist, the fire within her shifts, not wild, not uncontrolled, resolute. The world has chosen to fear her again. This time, she will not run forever. The forest does not soften her landing. It never has. Astra moves through the undergrowth until the castle vanishes behind mist and memory, until the stone walls that once promised safety become nothing more than a shape her mind refuses to release. The farther she goes, the heavier the air grows, thick with old magic, tangled roots, and the quiet pulse of something alive beneath the earth. Her silver fire hums low, not flaring, not fading. Waiting. She follows instinct rather than direction. The same pull that once dragged her toward the moon altar now draws her deeper into the forest's ribs, where the trees grow twisted and ancient, where roots break through stone like veins through skin. By the time she reaches the cave, her lungs burn. The entrance yawns narrow and jagged, half hidden by glowing roots that snake along the rock face, pulsing faintly with bioluminescent light. The air smells of damp earth and something metallic, old power, sleeping but not dead. Astra steps inside. The cave opens wider than expected, the ceiling arching high, walls threaded with roots that glow brighter the farther she goes. The light casts her shadow long and distorted, silver fire flickering faintly beneath her skin in response. This place knows her. She sinks to the stone floor, back against the wall, knees drawn tight to her chest. The exhaustion hits all at once, bone deep, soul heavy. Not just from the run, but from the weight of being seen and discarded in the same breath. She presses her forehead to her knees. "You are a fool," she whispers. Trust has always been the sharpest blade. Time stretches strangely in the cave. Minutes blur. Maybe hours. The roots pulse steadily, as if counting something older than her pain. When the sound comes, it's not footsteps. It's breath. Controlled.
Familiar.
Her head snaps up. Kael stands at the cave entrance, silhouette framed by the faint dawn bleeding into the forest. He is not seated, not supported by a cane. He stands tall, shoulders squared, weight balanced with deliberate precision. The lie stands with him. Astra's heart slams against her ribs. "You followed me," she says, voice rough. "Yes."
No excuses. No apologies.
Just truth. Anger surges first, hot, immediate. She pushes to her feet, silver fire flaring instinctively, lighting the cave brighter. "You had no right." "I know. You let them do that," she snaps. "You let them look at me like I was a weapon you'd misplace." Kael steps inside the cave. The roots brighten in response, light climbing his boots, his legs, uncovering the truth inch by inch. He walks without hesitation. I let them believe I was weaker than I am, he says quietly, because the cord is already rotting, and rot must be exposed before it can be burned away. Her laugh is sharp, brittle. So I was bait. His jaw tightens. You were the line they crossed. Silence stretches between them, taut as wire. He moves closer, stopping just outside her reach. The air between them hums, heat, tension, something dangerously alive. I never intended for you to leave, he says. But you told them to remove me. Yes. The word lands hard. Astra's fire flares brighter, licking along her veins, casting silver shadows across the stone.
Then say it, she demands.
Say I was expendable. Kael's gaze does not waver.
You were protected, he says.
From a blade aimed at your throat. By turning the blade on my back? I turned it on myself. The words cut through her fury. He exhales slowly, as if bracing against something long held. They poisoned me years ago. Not to kill. To weaken. To make my body betray me when I needed it most. Astra stills. I let the lie grow, he continues. Let them believe the damage was permanent. Because fear makes men careless. And careless men reveal their loyalties. She searches his face, the controlled calm, the strain beneath it. The restraint she's felt every time she touched him, every time his body flinched not from pain, but from holding back. You're not crippled, she says.
No.
Then why keep pretending? Because the moment I stand openly, he says, voice low, the council fractures into war. And war would kill more than just me. The cave pulses brighter. Astra's fire quiets, not extinguished, but listening. You should have told me, she says. Yes. You should have trusted me. Yes. The admission costs him. She can see it, the weight of leadership carved deep into his bones, the instinct to bear everything alone. I didn't know if you'd stay, he says. If you knew what standing beside me would cost. Astra swallows hard. And now, he says softly, I know you would have left anyway. The truth of it lands between them. She turns away, pacing the cave, trying to outrun the ache tightening her chest. You saw what they did to me. How fast they decided what I was.
I saw, he says.
And you still expect me to come back?
No, Kael li plais.
I'm asking you to choose. She stops. He steps closer, close enough that she can feel his heat, the steady strength beneath his skin.
Trust me, he says.
Or leave and never look back. Her breath stutters. You don't get to say it like that, she whispers. I do, he answers. Because I am done lying to you. Silence presses in, thick and heavy. She turns to face him. Up close, the tension between them is almost unbearable. Two forces straining toward each other, both afraid of what will happen if they give in. His gaze drops briefly to her mouth, then back to her eyes. I see you, he says. All of you. Not the curse they named you. Not the fire they fear. Her chest tightens painfully. You are not ruin, he continues. You are ignition. The words unravel something inside her. The fire responds, not violently, not wild, but warm.
Steady. Trusting.
Kael lifts his hand slowly, deliberately, giving her every chance to pull away. His fingers hover near her cheek, not touching. If I cross this line, he says quietly, there is no going back. Astra's voice trembles. Then don't cross it unless you mean it. His thumb brushes her skin. The contact is electric, silver fire surging, his power answering in kind. The cave lights flare, roots glowing bright as stars. For one suspended breath, their faces are inches apart. Almost. Too close. She feels the pull, magnetic, consuming. The urge to close the distance, to let the world narrow to heat and breath and truth. Kael stops himself. The restraint hurts more than any wound. I won't take from you, he says, voice rough. Not choice. Not trust. Her heart pounds. Slowly, deliberately, Astra places her hand over his. The fire calms. I'm not your servant, she says. No, he agrees. I'm not your shield.
No.
I walk beside you, she says. Or not at all. Kael bows his head, not in submission, but in acknowledgement. Then come back, he says, as my ally. The word settles between them, heavy with promise. She closes her eyes. When she opens them, the decision is already made. I will, she says. But this time, no secrets. His answering smile is sharp and rare. Agreed. They leave the cave together. The forest watches them go, roots dimming, power settling. Dawn breaks fully as they move toward the distant silhouette of the castle, not as master and maid, but as two forces choosing to stand in the same storm. The castle does not welcome them back. It watches. Stone towers loom under a sky bruised purple with storm, banners snapping like warning tongues. Word has already spread, faster than feet, faster than truth. By the time Astra crosses the outer gate beside Kael, the air is thick with suspicion, charged with a hunger that has nothing to do with protection and everything to do with fear. Every eye follows her. Not curiosity. Not concern. Calculation. Astra feels it like fingers scraping her skin. The silver fire stirs uneasily, responding to the collective pulse of the crowd. Wolves gather in clusters, guards, servants, council members draped in authority like armor. Whispers ripple through them, sharp and venomous. She keeps her chin lifted. Kael moves beside her, expression carved from calm. His steps are steady now.
No cane. No weakness.
The lie has been shed, and with it, any illusion of safety. They reach the great hall. The doors slam shut behind them. The sound echoes like a verdict. The council is already assembled, seated in a crescent of stone and bone. Elder wolves with eyes dulled by age and sharpened by power. They look down on Astra as though she is already condemned. A voice cuts through the murmurs. Bring her forward. Kael's hand brushes Astra's lower back. Brief, grounding. Then he steps away. The distance feels brutal. She moves alone into the center of the hall, boots scraping stone. The ceiling arches high above her, carved with wolves in conquest and crowns in flame. Every symbol screams legacy. Every symbol reminds her she does not belong. An elder rises. White hair braided with silver thread. Voice smooth as a blade. You were not born Astra, the elder says. That name was taken. Stolen. Your true bloodline has been hidden for years. The murmurs swell. Astra's jaw tightens. She does not deny it. You are the child of the Cinder Line, another elder snaps. Bearer of witch fire. The one our ancestors warned us about. Her chest tightens, not with fear, but with fury. Kael's voice cuts in. Enough. All eyes turn to him. He steps forward, no longer hiding the strength in his legs, the power coiled beneath his skin. The room shifts. Fear flickers.
Awe.
Anger. You will not speak of her as if she is an object, he says. The first elder's eyes narrow. So, the cripple stands. A hush falls. Kael moves to the chair he once occupied, the symbol of his supposed weakness, and places a hand on its armrest. Slowly, deliberately, he straightens. He stands. The sound that follows is not loud. It is collective. A breath sucked in by 100 throats. Shock ripples through the hall like a breaking wave. Guards stiffen. Some step back. Others bare their teeth. The lie is dead. Kael's gaze sweeps the room, cold and precise. I allowed you to believe I was broken, he says, because broken men are underestimated. And underestimated men see everything. The council erupts. You deceived us. You endangered the pack. You forfeited your right to rule. Kael does not flinch. I exposed you, he says. Your greed, your cruelty, your willingness to sacrifice the innocent to preserve your comfort. The elder points at Astra. Innocent, he snarls. That thing is prophecy made flesh. She is the end of us. Astra feels it then, the shift. Not magic. Momentum. The words take hold of the room, twisting fear into something sharper. Wolves turn toward her, eyes glowing with the instinct to destroy what they do not understand. Another elder rises, voice trembling with zeal. The texts were clear. Silver flame heralds ruin. Crowns burn. Packs fall. Astra laughs. It breaks the tension like glass. Your texts were written by men afraid of losing power, she says. Her voice carries, steady, unbowed. You feared what you couldn't control, so you named it evil. The elder's face reddens. You dare. She dares because I allow it, Kael snaps. Astra turns to him, startled by the ferocity in his tone. He moves to stand beside her. United. The council recoils. You stand with her? The first elder demands. Even knowing what she is? Kael's answer is immediate. Especially because I know. A low growl ripples through the hall. Then you doom us all, the elder declares. The Alpha King has chosen the flame over the pack. The words hang heavy. Kael looks at Astra, not with doubt, not with hesitation, but with apology. She understands too late. The guards surge forward. Chains forged with binding runes snap into place around Astra's wrists, searing cold against her skin. She cries out, silver fire flaring violently in response. The hall erupts in chaos, shouts, snarls, fear tipping into frenzy. Kael lunges, but too many hands restrain him. Do not, he roars. The elders chant. Old words. Twisted words. Prophecy bent into a weapon. She will end us, they declare. She must be ended first. Pain rips through Astra as the chains tighten, magic clawing at her fire, trying to smother it. Her knees buckle. She tastes blood. Kael breaks free. The ground cracks beneath his feet as his power surges, Alpha command rolling through the hall like thunder. Wolves freeze mid-motion, instinct screaming submission. Enough, he bellows. For a heartbeat, the world stills. Then the first elder smiles. Too late. The chains activate. Astra screams, not in weakness, but in rage. Something inside her snaps. The silver fire explodes. Not wild. Not uncontrolled.
Claimed.
The flames tear free of her veins, roaring outward in a blinding inferno that shatters stone and scorches banners. The hall becomes light and heat and power older than fear. Wolves scatter. The elders scream. Kael shields his face, eyes locked on her through the blaze. Astra rises into the fire, hair lifting, eyes glowing molten silver. She is no longer hunted. She is judgment. The flames curl around her, not burning her skin but answering her will. The chains melt. The runes scream as they die. The fire stops inches from Kael. Her gaze finds his. Pain flickers there. Love. Resolve. I won't let them use me, she says, voice echoing with ancestral weight. Kael shakes his head. Run, he mouths. The ceiling cracks. The castle groans. Astra draws in one final breath and vanishes. The fire collapses inward, sucked into a single point of light that winks out, leaving devastation in its wake. Silence falls. Ash drifts through the air. Kael stands alone in the ruined hall, heart pounding, eyes burning with fury and grief. The council stares at the empty space where Astra stood, faces pale, voices gone. They have not destroyed her. They have unleashed her. And somewhere beyond stone and crown and fear, the silver flame moves through the world, no longer hiding, no longer alone. The night splits open, not with thunder, but with screaming. The first hell tears through the valley like a wound, sharp and wrong, carrying a pitch that does not belong to any living wolf. It rolls across the land, curling over hills, slamming into stone, rattling the bones of the castle itself. Kael feels it in his marrow. He is already moving when the alarms begin, bells clanging, horns blaring, voices shouting over one another in rising panic. Smoke blooms against the sky, black and choking, streaked with unnatural shadows that writhe as if alive. Shadow beasts. They come like a tide poured from the cracks between worlds. Not wolves. Not spirits. Things shaped like memory and hunger, bodies half-formed, eyes burning with borrowed malice. They crawl over the outer walls, tear through gates, rip guards from their posts as if they weigh nothing at all. The realm breaks. Kael shifts mid-stride, bones snapping, power roaring free. His wolf crashes into the fray, massive, dark, crowned with authority that forces lesser wolves to rally even as terror claws at their instincts. But even Alpha Command strains. These creatures do not fear. They recognize him. And they laugh. The castle burns. Flames crawl up stone, fed by pitch and panic. Towers crumble. Courtyards fill with blood and ash. Packs fight back to back, snarling prayers into the smoke as shadow claws rake through fur and flesh. Kael tears through 2 beasts, then 3, his jaws snapping shut on vapor that screams when it dies. Still they come. Too many. Endless. This is not an invasion. It is a harvest. And then, the ground shudders. Not from impact. From arrival. The silver fire ignites the horizon. It does not explode outward. It rises, slow, deliberate, like a sun being born where no sun should exist. The light rolls across the battlefield, washing shadow in incandescent brilliance. The beasts recoil. Some scream. Some dissolve. The fire advances. Astra walks through it. She does not run. She does not rush. She moves as if the world itself bends to make room for her steps. Flame crowns her head, not burning, not wild, shaped like living silver, etched with sigils older than the castle, older than the packs, older than fear. Her eyes glow like molten moons. The air around her vibrates with voices layered atop one another, deep, ancient, countless. The ancestors speak through her breath. She lifts her head and roars. The sound is not human, not wolf. It is lineage-made sound. The earth answers. Runes carved into forgotten stone flare awake beneath ash and rubble. Seals thought broken snap back into place. Old paths reopen. The very bones of the realm remember what they were made to protect. Shadow beasts shriek as the fire touches them. True fire, not destruction, but unmaking. They tear apart, unraveling into smoke and nothing. Kael freezes. His wolf stumbles to a halt, awe crashing through him so hard it almost hurts. She is magnificent.
She is terrifying.
She is alive. Astra turns her gaze toward the castle.
Toward him.
The fire parts. She steps into the courtyard where Kael stands amid ruin and blood. The flames curl around her feet, kiss the stone, leave it unscarred. Wolves drop to their knees without knowing why, instinct overriding pride, fear kneeling before something undeniable. Kael shifts back, breath ragged, heart pounding. He takes one step toward her, then another. The air between them hums, charged with power and memory, and everything unsaid. You came back, he says, voice raw. Astra's gaze softens, just for him. Just enough. I told you, she replies, and when she speaks, the chorus quiets. I would not be your sacrifice. A shadow rises behind her. Not a beast. Not smoke. A form takes shape, tall, vast, crowned with antlers of bone and eyes like dying stars. The temperature drops. Fire dims. Even the ancestors' voices fall into a wary hush. The first Alpha's shade steps fully into the world. He wears a smile carved from centuries of conquest. So, the shade murmurs, voice echoing from everywhere and nowhere. The flame finally remembers her name. Astra does not turn. Kael does. Rage surges, primal and focused. You, he snarls. The shade inclines his head mockingly. Your crown was always borrowed, child. Every Alpha, since me, has worn my shadow. The ground cracks beneath his presence. Wolves whimper. Some flee. Others cower, torn between loyalty and terror. Astra finally faces him. You fed on fear, she says calmly. You called it leadership. The shade laughs. And you fed on power without understanding its cost. Silver fire flares brighter. I understand, Astra replies. You were afraid of what came after you. The shade's eyes narrow. Kael steps to her side, power surging to meet hers. This ends now. The first alpha's smile sharpens. "No," he says softly. "This begins." Darkness coils. Fire answers. The world holds its breath. The world is quiet now. Not peaceful. Quiet. The air trembles with the echoes of flame and shadow, the ash of battle drifting like snow across the shattered courtyard. Smoke rises in ribbons, curling against the bruised dawn, and every surface glints, wet with fire-slicked stone, blood, and sweat. Wolves move carefully among the wreckage, paws scraping against cracked tiles, noses low to smell what remains, and the survivors, those who have the courage or the instinct to rise, gather in scattered groups, staring, trembling, unsure if what they've witnessed was miracle or madness. Astra stands in the center of it all. The silver fire that crowned her moments ago has faded, settling beneath her skin like a heartbeat she can now feel with perfect clarity. Her hair falls loose, damp and wild, framing a face that is both ash-streaked and radiant with triumph. Every muscle is coiled and alert, every breath deliberate. She knows the cost of what she's done. Every pack that fell, every shadow beast undone, every life spared, every life lost. And still, she does not move. Kael approaches slowly, boots crunching over rubble, eyes never leaving her. He does not stride like a king, he kneels. Not because it is demanded, not because it is ceremony, but because he has nothing left to hide.
No mas, no pretense, no calculated restraint.
Only truth and reverence, and the ache of something raw and undeniable. "Astra," he whispers, voice breaking the weight of silence. You saved them all. You saved me." She looks down at him, sees the fatigue, the pride, the surrender in his golden eyes. The Alpha King, stronger than legend claimed, but human, trembling like everyone else, capable of commanding armies and yet knelt before her, in awe of her alone. "I didn't save them for you," she replies softly, though her fire hums under her ribs, alive and steady. "I did what I had to. You know that." "I know," Kael says. His hand lifts, trembling just slightly, and brushes against her cheek. The touch is lightning and grounding all at once. "But I'm here.
I'm yours.
If you'll let me be." Astra's chest tightens. The warmth in her veins pulses with every memory of terror and betrayal, every test she endured, every moment she was told she was dangerous, untouchable, unworthy. And yet here he is, vulnerable,
Exposed.
not as king, not as alpha, but as something else entirely.
Mate. Partner.
The one who has walked beside her through chaos and fire, the one whose gaze has both threatened and protected her heart. She starts, voice breaking, unsure if the words are hers or if they belong to the fire that still runs beneath her skin. "I don't know what that means, not yet." But she swallows. Her silver flames pulse gently, visible now like veins of light beneath her skin. Not destruction, not rage, but presence. "I won't run again." Kael smiles, faint, relieved, something vulnerable and raw that makes the weight of the battlefield fall away for a moment. "Then don't." Silence stretches. Around them, the realm is waking from the nightmare. The survivors stir. Wolves lift their heads, sniff the air, uncertain, learning anew that the girl they once feared, the child they once whispered about, is the spark that kept them alive. Elders crouch in the shadows, mouths open, realizing they misjudged fire. Astra's gaze drifts across the hall, across the scorched banners and broken stones. She sees the first hints of hope flickering among the packs. They will rebuild. They will remember. And perhaps, one day, they will understand the price of fear and the weight of courage. Her eyes return to Kael. He remains kneeling, not demanding submission, not commanding worship, simply there, whole, waiting, for her to step forward, for her to decide what comes next. Her breath catches, and for a moment, the battlefield outside, the shadow beasts, the council's betrayal, all of it is compressed into one quiet, excruciatingly beautiful instant. The fire inside her responds, not wild, Not angry, but tender, protective, binding. She feels it, the pull between them, the promise of standing together, not as king and servant, not as alpha and outcast, but as equals, as mates. Kael reaches forward, slowly, carefully, bridging the last inches between them. His hand grazes hers, holding it against his chest. Her pulse flares beneath her palm. She can feel the rhythm of his heartbeat, steady, grounding, alive. "I see you," he whispers again, softer this time, almost afraid it might shatter the fragile peace they've carved from fire and ruin. "All of you. Everything. I see you, Astra." Tears threaten. She tilts her head, letting the vulnerability leak through, letting the anger and fear and loneliness dissolve for a heartbeat. The silver fire pulses, subtle now, a quiet radiance that threads through her veins like light along dark water. "I see you too," she admits, voice almost trembling, but steady enough to be heard. "And I'm not afraid of it anymore."
Of you. Of me.
Of this. Kael lifts her hand, pressing it against his face, holding it there, and then bows his forehead to hers. Not as king, not as alpha, but as the man who has waited, tested, suffered, and survived alongside her. The moment stretches. Neither moves. Neither speaks. The world outside, burned, broken, reshaped, is still, watching, waiting. And then, slowly, Kael lifts his head, eyes locking onto hers with that same quiet intensity that has haunted her dreams and nightmares for weeks.
"Stay," he says.
"With me. Not because I need you, but because I choose you. Always." The silver fire swells beneath her skin like a heartbeat answered. She lets herself lean in, just slightly, allowing warmth, trust, and the flicker of something more than survival to settle between them. The tension of the night, of every betrayal, of every test, does not vanish. But for the first time, it feels like it can be endured, not alone but together. The wind drifts through the shattered castle, carrying ash and embers, and the first rays of dawn burn across the horizon. Light catches the silver in her eyes, in her hair, in the veins of fire that thread across her arms. The world is still scarred, trembling, uncertain, but alive. Kael rises beside her, not in display of strength, not in pretense, but as witness, as partner. They stand together now, two fires entwined, unbroken, unashamed, facing the ruins and the future alike. Astra tilts her head, letting the silence of their union stretch into something sacred. The pain, the betrayal, the loss, they are real. And yet here they are, still standing, still breathing, still choosing. And as the silver light in her veins fades to a gentle glow, she knows the truth that has been burning beneath all her trials. She is not a weapon. She is not a curse. She is not a sacrifice. She is fire. And she chooses to burn for herself, for Kael, for the world that tried to break her and failed. Kael reaches for her hand. She takes it. The world beyond the castle trembles in silence. And then, with a voice low and compelling, she says, "This is only the beginning." If your heart raced in that moment, if the fire inside you stirred, if you long to see what comes next, then do not let it end here. Subscribe to Moonbound Werewolf Romance Stories. Here, we tell the stories that burn. Here, we follow the flames, through shadow and fire, love and war, loss and triumph. Here, every heartbeat is a story. Every choice echoes. And every silver flame lights the way. Because Astra is not finished. Kael is not finished. And the world, they have yet to see what true fire can do. The night returns, not gentle, not forgiving, but necessary. The fires of battle are gone, reduced to smoldering embers that hiss as wind pushes through broken walls. The castle stands, scarred, hollowed, but unbowed, like a survivor's spine after a fight it almost did not win. Wolves patrol cautiously, tails low but ears high, senses straining. They are alive. They are shaken. They are aware that power has shifted, that the rules have changed, that someone has risen beyond their comprehension. Astra and Kael stand at the highest tower, overlooking the courtyard and the fractured lands beyond. She leans against him, shoulders brushing, and for the first time, not out of fear, not out of necessity, but in trust. The wind carries ash, carrying whispers of battle, carrying hints of life yet to come. Kael's hands rest lightly on the railing, yet the tension in his stance does not relax. He does not speak, not yet. He watches the horizon, watching the sky, measuring the weight of the world as if it were a living thing beneath his palms. Astra tilts her head, feeling the hum of the silver fire beneath her skin. Not flaring now, not violent, but a quiet current that reminds her she is not finished. That the night is not finished. That destiny does not rest. "Do you feel it?" she asks softly, not breaking the silence that has settled around them. Her eyes catch the reflection of dying embers below, mirrored in Kael's own gaze. He exhales slowly.
Ida.
It isn't over. The words are a whisper, and yet they carry weight enough to make the stones tremble beneath them. Behind them, the castle is quiet except for the occasional groan of broken wood, settling stone, shifting rubble. But beyond the walls, beyond the lands they saved, the world moves. Shadows stir. Packs regroup. Survivors whisper in fear and awe of what they have witnessed. And in the dark, something watches. Always watches. Astra feels it first, the pull, subtle but unmistakable. The silver fire lifts beneath her skin, light tracing along her arms and shoulders, brushing against her chest like an unspoken warning. She turns her head toward the edge of the horizon, toward the darkened woods beyond the valley. A whisper schemes the wind, almost a sound, almost a thought. She is not the only one. Her stomach knots. The words feel like prophecy, not threat, though the weight is the same. Her fire reacts, humming in recognition, a lineage calling out across miles, through shadow and secret, through lives hidden and waiting. Kael notices the shift instantly. "What is it?" he asks, tension snapping through his voice, hand tightening around hers. "I don't know," she admits. The silver in her eyes pulses, catching the moonlight in a way that makes the shadows stretch unnaturally long. "But I think someone else is coming." A low growl rolls in Kael's chest, not wolf, not voice, but instinct and protection and warning all at once. His eyes narrow, scanning the distant treeline, the dark horizon, as if trying to pierce the shadowed veil between what is and what is yet to be. "They wait in silence," he says, voice heavy. "Learning. Watching. Testing." Astra presses closer, feeling the truth in his words. Their hands meet fully now, gripping not from fear, but from connection, a tether forged in fire, in battle, in pain, in love that refuses to be denied. "And we'll meet them," she says, words steady despite the trembling in her stomach. "We'll stand, Kael. Together." He turns fully to her, gaze locking, and she sees it. Something she has always seen beneath his carefully measured calm, beneath the facade of the crippled alpha. It is fire. It is hunger. It is resolve. And now it is hers to match. "Together," he echoes, voice low, but carrying the weight of unshakable promise. The night shifts again. Clouds drift across the moon, splitting it into jagged silver crescents, the fractured light reflecting across their eyes. It is a silent omen. Beautiful, terrifying,
Alive.
From the shadows of the valley, a howl answers. Not one, not two, but many. Silver eyes glint in the darkness, watching, calculating, aware. The fire in Astra flares, resonating with something ancestral, deep and unbroken. Kael exhales, low and steady. "It begins," he murmurs, his wolf instincts thrumming beneath the skin, senses straining, ready. The age of the true alpha is only beginning. Astra nods, chest swelling with power and certainty. She steps forward, closer to the edge, feeling the pulse of the land beneath her feet. The silver fire inside her responds, weaving along her veins, connecting past, present, and future. She knows the truth now. She is not merely a survivor, a savior, or a flame in the dark. She is a signal, a reckoning, a spark that cannot be ignored. Behind her, Kael joins the stance, his presence solid, unyielding, his hand brushing her back, anchoring her even as the world trembles. Their shadows stretch long across the ruined courtyard, twin flames bound by trust and choice. Somewhere in the distance, a child cries. Not just any child, silver eyes glinting faintly in the darkness, a pulse of power untested but undeniable. Astra glances toward the sound, breath catching. It is a reminder that their world does not pause for victory, that life, chaotic, unyielding, miraculous, continues. Astra lifts her chin, letting the light fall across her features, fire under skin now calm but ready. "This isn't over," she murmurs. Her voice carries across the ruins, across the trembling land, across the valleys and forests and broken packs. It is a declaration, a promise, a warning. The wind answers, curling around the towers, rustling broken banners, scattering ash. Somewhere distant, a howl cuts through the night, not fearful, but defiant. Kael leans close, voice quiet, intimate raw. "Then let them come. We'll be ready." Astra smiles faintly, silver fire pulsing beneath her skin, steady as a heartbeat. "Not just ready. We'll burn." Together, they watch the moon split further, shadows moving, secrets stirring, the horizon alive with possibilities they cannot yet see. They stand unbroken. They stand unafraid. They stand entwined, not as king and servant, not as alpha and outcast, but as flame and fire, mate and equal, bound by choice and courage. The camera of imagination, if the world had won, would linger here, on the two figures silhouetted against a fractured moon, the first light of a new era catching the silver in their eyes. Smoke and ash curl like waves around their feet. Wolves stir, pack by pack, instinctively drawn to the strength of their leaders. And beyond the forest, beyond the valleys, in the dark where nothing yet stirs visibly, something watches. She is not the only one. The whisper repeats, this time a certainty, an inevitability. Astra tightens her grip on Kael's hand. "Then will be the spark," she says. Kael nods, jaw tight, eyes sharp. The spark that burns everything it must, and protects everything it loves. The wind gusts, carrying ash and the faint scent of silver flame across the land. The world, trembling, waits. And the stage is set. The true Alpha Age is only beginning. The moon hides and reveals, the ashes settle and stir, and Astra and Kael stand at the heart of it all, the first flames of what is to come. The horizon shivers, the shadows shift, and somewhere, beyond sight and reason, destiny waits. The screen fades, black, but the fire lingers. The story is not over.